Hey guys, and welcome back to the James and Stuart podcast. This week we have Hench from NSE, and he's going to hopefully talk about what NSE is, for those of you that don't know or want to find out more, and I guess a little bit about what it's like to work in esports. So, hi Hench.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, thanks. I hope you're good.
I'm doing well. I'm excited.
So can you just give the viewers like a quick summary of what you do and what NSE does as a whole?
So my job is my title is League Operations Manager for National Student Esports, and what that largely means is I oversee the running of the tournaments we run. I oversee our tournament staff, but as right now we're quite a small company, it goes a bit beyond that. But it's a lot of the planning of tournaments and the actually operational sides of it. But yeah.
Because NSE is quite new as an organisation, I believe. I was doing a bit of research.
Yes.
And so this year's its first main year?
This is our first year of running. Yeah, just to give it a kind of timeline. John, our executive director, he started November 2017. I started at NSE in March last year. Which is when Niall also started, and it was about 4 months. What is it? No, it's about 5 months later. We launched as a tournament site. So yeah, our staff started in March. We announced in April, and then we started October last year. Is kind of very new.
Very quick, yeah. So did you think that it would all come together that quickly, or did you have sort of more slow goals?
That was always there's always a realistic time frame, like coming from having done similar stuff before. It was a doable timeline. It was tense because it was something we were talking about in the office the other day. Is like, remember last year at this point we didn't have a website, and we were like, yes. So we've gone. It's all very quick, and it feels like it's longer than a year, but it is about a year and a bit now. But no, it's a very doable time frame. There's points in it where we were panicking about little things, like a month before when we were like, okay, we've got all the ways for teams to sign up, but we don't have any way of handling matches yet. Just technical solutions that you're like, we'll find something. We'll
get
find
there eventually.
Work out on the job.
It's the notable one is if you look at like our captain's doc about how you check in, and you then look at the actual button on the website, you might notice they're slightly different. That is because on the Saturday, we built the check-in system for the tournament starting on Sunday, so I only had the design images. I was like, this is what the designer thinks it's going to look like, and then, for tomorrow when the tournament starts. But we're still currently building it. So there's a bit of that going on, but it all got there much closer to the deadline than you'd hope, but it worked out in the end. We had backup plans.
Good thing
that was a very, very stressful weekend, shall we say?
Anyway, so did you move from NUEL?
So yeah, just to give my kind of time frame, I started in university esports as a player. I got involved at the end of my third year, and I did a 4-year course at York. I first took a role in the League of Legends team. I basically messaged the current team, and it was much smaller. We're talking, there was something like 16, 20 teams in the country. I started by watching a stream, and I looked at a Google 2 of the players, and they were both Diamond 1 in League, which was the highest rank at the time. I then spent a year trying to practice to get good enough to be on my team, and then discovered that, those were the 2 best players in the tournament by a massive margin. So by the time I joined, I was one of the better players because I was really intimidated about joining. But I came on in the summer then, ended up starting my own team in the beginning of the next academic year. That year was the first year of big growth for esports. It went from 20 teams to about 100 teams, of which my team finished 8th. Which I was really happy with at the time. I wish we could have done a bit better, but it was like little things like, our exam period's not quite working up, not practicing at the right points, and just having a bit of an unlucky run in playoffs when you get matched up against. You're having your off week and you get matched against someone who's kind of wild carded their way into the top 8, and you're like, you should have already you should have been first seed. You just had a bad week, and we had to play against you when you were 8th seed, and you beat us. So, it's one of those things. But it was I had good fun doing that. So that
sort of made you want to continue on as part of the organisation.
I've been involved in like other esports teams over the years, but like that was what got me into university stuff. And then in the summer, when I was graduating, I started getting involved in the UL, and I helped out with the summer tournament there for League of Legends, which was all there was back then. And then I took over as like lead admin in the first week of the actual season of the next year. And from there, I set up all the tournaments that, so I set up the Overwatch, I set up the League of Legends, not League of Legends, that was already there, the CSGO, the Hearthstone, we just gradually added those games. So we went from zero to a community before. So yeah, that's kind of my path into it. And then I ran those for 4 years, kind of whilst mostly unemployed. I ran university tournaments. I did some random events in esports, but at peak I earned like 4 or 5 grand in a year in esports. So,
but now
I'm full-time office.
Great, I guess.
Oh, it definitely is better at feeding me than freelance work was. It has to be said. Yeah, that's kind of my path into like NSC. So I had 4 or 5 years running this. We'd seen communities grow from nothing, like to where they are now. Like we went from 100 League of Legends teams to 350 at its peak.
That's a lot.
Like last year is one of the things. Like I keep saying about League of Legends, but up until last year, League of Legends was bigger than all other university esports by itself. We had CSGO, Overwatch. You had Arrow League running Rocket League and Dota 2, but there was more League of Legends players than there was everything else combined, which we're starting to see a bit of a shift, and it's more that everything else is starting to grow to catch up, more than League of Legends is declining, which it's about the same size. Like people say it's not like 350 was the peak, and we're not at that now, but it's the kind of thing where it's gone up and down 30 teams each year. Like it's pretty stable. It's some years are bigger than others, but it
is a very big game.
It's not trending either way, I would say, at least not significantly.
Yeah, I feel like our sport is our esport is Rocket League, so that's growing, I'd say.
Yeah,
Rocket League is really growing.
Rocket League's a really big esport compared to its numbers of players as well, which I always find interesting. Like I spent hours looking at these Steam stats, and you got to see how many concurrent players, and like Rocket League's at like 10% of CS:GO, but we get the same number. We get more CS:GO teams, that we get 80 Rocket League teams and 110.
There is a bit of an Xbox and PS player base there as well, so I guess it's not all as it seems on Steam.
Yeah, no, I mean that's true. I think, yeah.
Anyway, taking it back to kind of NSE.
Yeah.
So this is the first year of like the full proper tournament launch. Yeah. So has it been like exactly as you'd expected, or has there been a lot of surprises during that process?
There's always certain stuff like that surprise. We think the tournaments themselves went really smoothly. We had a couple of issues on the first night with a new tournament system, but like they were pretty much isolated to the first night. But there's nothing that's been dramatic, really changed. It's pretty much the same as doing it before. We get a few new cool opportunities, but like and one of the big things is there's a bit more prestige and seriousness in the way universities are approaching it, but also like how society, like Warwick's an example of you guys. Now that we've got this championship table, 2 or 3, there's a few universities that are starting to take it quite seriously, which is really cool. It's what we always wanted, obviously, but we're seeing little progress. I mean, I say that like when you look at the growth of esports, I'm saying we're not expecting any dramatic growth, but we're still expecting a 40% growth, which any other industry would be insane. But like we had the year, I'm saying for League of Legends, we went 20 teams to 100 teams to 300 teams year on year.
So much.
Whereas like we don't see that anymore. I mean, we did with Arrow League to NSE. We're moving to Rocket League. We went from like 20 teams to 80 teams. But again, like you can get that on the first big push. You don't expect that. We don't expect that to happen again. It's just we always expected to have that many teams, because what we had with Arrow League is the leagues were running great, but they didn't have. Whereas we're talking to 80 universities, they never were. Once you talk to 80 universities, you get 80 teams sign up. Is kind of where it is. It might not be they all enter, but enough unis enter 2 teams that it cancels out.
aware of the kind of tournament being there. If they can enter a team, then
well,
if they've got some people who are motivated to play like weekly, then I guess that's perfect for them.
Yeah, so obviously you're talking about the numbers of teams sort of blowing up since you started, and you haven't been around that long. How does that sort of reflect in staff numbers? Because obviously, if you've only been around a year, you probably haven't been recruiting the whole time. So do you sort of start with the same amount of staff as now?
So we started with, like, the vast majority of the actually was done with 3 full-time members of staff. There's John, who's our executive director. There's myself, and there's Nolly, who's our operations director.
Yeah.
Not direct operations manager. I promoted him. There's 3 of us. The hierarchy isn't that complicated, and I'm still getting it wrong. But there's 3 of us up until last November. So we did all the things like we do a lot of. I mean, the way we're set up is we're part owned by Buck, so part owned by Benchmark Sport. We are a separate company, but we do sit inside the Benchmark Sport offices here in London. So I'm in a little meeting room right now in our office in central London. So we have a lot of infrastructure already. Like, there's an accounts department we use, there's a HR department we use. I mean, it's still a smallish company, but we effectively pay them a fee to be part of their office and get all this infrastructure that we wouldn't have. But like, actually working on the project, there's 3 of us. There was, at least. We then came clear that as much as we were able to operationally run very well, we then brought on Sam, who is our like director of partnerships. And that's why we're starting to see us make some deals, like working with Monster. We should be announcing a title sponsor next year. We should be, we're working more with games publishers themselves to promote the games and support them. With I mean, depending on the games publisher you talk to, they have varying levels of support they give you. But it's working out, and he handles a lot of that relationship stuff. But it's really We're starting, and we will be seeing more of that. I mean, he started in November. We're starting to see more of those deals now be finalised, more of those things going forward, more of those, and you'll see a lot more of that. I mean, the other thing is, like, he brought Special Effect on in like day 2 because he already had a relationship with them, and he was like, there's gamers who want to get involved with this. Like, he just reached out to them, and they were like, of course, we've been looking for someone to try to. Like, we know there's loads of students raising money for Special Effect. We just want a way of, like, actually knowing who they are, where they are. Is it societies? Is it individuals? Can we get a better visibility on how it works? And then they can see where it is. And Tom came down to eFest near Warwick to, I believe.
Definitely had a couple of... Yeah, we had an NSE member come down. Definitely.
From Special Effect, Tom came down, I believe.
Yes, that was
because he's a Warwick graduate as well, and he didn't realise you guys were doing a bunch of stuff.
Yes, Jack mentioned him, actually, I think, at some point.
Yeah, and it's just really cool for them to see these events that already happen and, like, create visibility on that. But yeah, so Sam started then, and as Sam has been doing a good job, we do have a 5th full-time member of staff starting soon. I don't know what I'm allowed to say about that, but we got someone new coming on. Basically, as we work more with partners, there's more stuff to do. It adds quite a lot of work a lot of the time. People joke about, making sure that you've got all these tweets going out that mention the sponsors. You've got all the photos. Make sure the branding's everywhere on the live events.
All the little micro details.
It's all these extra things that we just need more people on staff to do. And run events, and hopefully, so we do have a 5th member coming on, which I'm very excited about.
What's the role of is it the sort of game reps or the NSE admins?
The tournament. So that's our full-time staff. The reason we have a bunch of other staff is that we have a bunch of, like, they're not staff, but like contractors. We have a bunch of students who work with us. We support them. Like, we give them 3 or 4 hours of, like, paid work a week. Sometimes a little bit more than that. Sometimes we have them down to live events. But the reality is, most of our work is seasonal. Most of our work requires 4 hours work a week, and it needs someone who knows about that game. Like, for me, when it comes to playing games, like, League of Legends is my game. Dawn of War 2 is my game, but that's not popular enough for it to be an esport. I played until there was 15 of us left, but at that point it was a dead game. So I started playing League of Legends. But you have these things where I just can't. We need people.
You need
to help
people
out.
that have sort of detailed knowledge about the game.
They know
yeah.
the game. They know the difference between a bug and a feature. Like they can say it's a bug. They can say things like most of running a tournament is like scheduling it out. It's about saying things like, "Oh, my opponent's 10 minutes late. What do I do? My opponent said this naughty word." Like it's all stuff that's universal. It's like I can't submit my score. Can you help me sort out my score? I just put it in wrong. But occasionally there are game-specific issues, and I'm just not an expert on every game. But also, more importantly, often I'm not a member of that community, and I don't pretend to be. It's hard for me to understand what seems fair. Like, to me, should we do a best of 7 playoffs for Rocket League? Should we do a best of 5 playoffs? I'm like, I can't tell what people would actually enjoy. Like, what feels fair, what feels close, they're just numbers on a page. I don't know how going 3-2 in a best of 5 feel like there was a definite winner in Rocket League, or does it feel close and kind of unfair? Should it be a best of 7 to make it feel more? I just can't, without playing the game or watching the game. I don't have that like gut feeling, which is so important to like the core of what we do. Like, is it selling an experience? It's selling something that feels. It's about making it feel more real. Weirdly, like it is real, but it's like.
Yeah, I get that.
Like it matters, and I can't do that unless I've got people who play the games and know the games and love the games. Like,
anyway, you mentioned like naughty words, but you're managing a bunch of late teenagers, early 20s. So, is there any difficulties that you've had with that? I know at Warwick we had a very difficult person in League of Legends. I think Henry said so.
There's some difficulties in it. Generally, the vast majority get it, and we do try and stress it at the beginning of the year, because it's always one of these things which is particularly bad at the beginning of the year, particularly bad with freshers, where you have these people who just, for the first time in their life, you have all this freedom, and then you just kind of, these people in their first term just blow out a bunch of people, and they do too much, they do too many things, like in all sorts of ways. One of them is they just go out and say stupid things and try to find their identity, and it's like, no.
Something you don't want to have to do, but it's
but we talk. The thing we have to say to people, and it's something that really helps when we talk about, is like, you're playing in a tournament. Unlike playing online, there is personal accountability to this. You're representing your university. You got to treat this like you're going out and playing football for your uni. Like, there's banter, there's stuff people say on the pitch, but we have a few issues with a couple of things in particular. We always have a couple of like racist language issues. You always have it's always a couple.
It's very small.
We have 8,000, 9,000 games played last year, something like that, and we had 5 or 10 incidents that resulted in people getting suspended. So it is a very small number, but it's always around that kind of thing. The particular one we often have, it's often more passive in the gaming thing, and it is getting better. It's like issues around sexism is a particular one that we try and stress each year. We want to be at as much growth, like the majority of students are women today. So like, you got all these. That's a big one that we struggle with. That's a big one esports struggles with in general. So it's not just us, but it's one we try and stress, this accountability, and occasionally, we're not at the point yet that like Bucks is for like sport, but like if you swore on if you used a racial slur on a football pitch, your university would get fined. You would get there's a reasonable chance you would get kicked out of university. Like, we're not at that point. We don't have that recognition, but that's where I see us being in 5 years. Like, if people want to take this seriously, we need to take it seriously.
Start really stamping down, making sure it's like really punishable. Like, the university should know that that's happened.
We're not at that point yet, but there's difference between our structure and Bucks, whereas like Bucks, the universities pay a fee to be involved. Like, they've been around for. They must have been around for a fair while. I don't know the details. And the whole structure is different. Like, we can, like, Bucks have the potential to suspend a university, where it makes sense for us to, because the universities don't have accountability for the players in the same way. Like, you sign up on your own back. You are normally involved with societies, whereas it's like a requirement of books that you are accountable to the university.
Oh yeah, like the university wouldn't know. Like my tutor wouldn't know I played Rocket League.
Yeah,
I was part of this. I wasn't doing NSE or anything. So, I mean, I guess on the whole, everyone's mature by now. You'd hope. Yeah. But there's just a few exceptions.
Yeah, the vast majority are probably fine.
It gets way better as people like. As I'm saying, it really is the first term people play is the worst. They're not part. But then by like anyone who's in their second year or even like second term, you become part of this community, and you're like, it feels like a community. It's just the first three weeks. People feel like they're just playing with randoms, and
it's like another online game where they might do that on the regular anyway. Sadly.
No, I get. Yeah.
But in terms of yourself and organising tournaments, have you changed the way you approach it since like NUEL or even the start of NSE?
Yeah, there's a lot of things I've learned. It's like what I was saying with CSGO. I tried to become an expert on CSGO. I played 100 hours. I did my best to get good at it. I got to like gold 4 or something. I was like, okay, I'm like not at the bottom anymore. I'm not completely terrible at this game. Ran a tournament, had everyone signed up. I was tied for the lowest rank of anyone in the tournament. I still didn't understand a bunch of stuff. And I ended up talking to people who understood it a lot better. And it's just a case of going, I don't need to be a part of every community to be able to support those communities. The thing I'm starting to learn more as we get bigger is I'm more and more having to hand off stuff, whereas I've been very hands-on with it in the past. And it's gradually learning that you are selling an experience, you're selling a community. Like the competitive aspect's so important. And like the top end is so important. But when you have 200 teams enter, it's about making it enjoyable for those 200 teams. It's about creating. It's like one of these things we've done where we create all these divisions. It's like by creating this, you've got giving everyone these achievable goals. It's like everyone's playing for something and making sure that's a key focus. And I've got a lot quicker at doing things as well. That's something you realize, like you kind of don't believe how much quicker running. Like,
imagine the first time you're kind of stuttering, working out, making sure everything's
and
like,
you don't know what problems to expect.
Yeah,
it's doing the same task at the second time is so much quicker. And as much as there's always new things, like when we start a tournament, a new game now, I don't know how to run that tournament for that game, but I know what questions to ask. It's like, what should I be considering? What are the breaking points games have? Like should this game be? Can we do playoffs? How long do individual games take? What's the biggest variance in game? That's the one that people don't appreciate. Like an hour and a half game is fine for scheduling. Like you have some of these games, which, like Rocket League's great to schedule because
so easy.
It's like it's 5 to 7 minutes of overtime. It's more how quickly people join the server affects the game length more than anything else.
If everyone turns up on time, I guess as well.
Yeah, whereas you have certain games like Hearthstone where you have, if it's an aggressive meta and you've got 2 players playing against each other with aggressive decks, that game can finish in 5 minutes, but there might be 2 other players playing on the same night who have a 2-hour-long game. So you're waiting for that 2-hour-long game to finish before they can start their round 2. And you've gone 5 minutes, I've lost my first game. When does my next game start? Well, you play against the loser of that game. When are they going to be done? I don't know. But there's a bunch of stuff around that. But you learn to ask these questions. You learn to think about these things. You learn to you're less panicked about them as well. It's like the first time, I always think like the first email you have to write about suspending a player, like you spend forever thinking if the language is correct. Whereas now I basically have a template where I change the 2 lines.
Copy and paste.
It's like, our format, if you've ever got one of these, is hi X, and we email the captain and the player. Recently, there was a report on this night of this behavior. We reviewed it with these people. This is what conclusion we've come to. Like, this is your suspension. We remind you that we don't accept this kind of behavior. Blah blah blah. There's like a pretty simple template. and it's building stuff like that for the first time. It takes a while because it's important to get it right.
Oh yeah, you definitely want to get something like that correct.
It's like, again, these like captain's documents we send out. Writing the first one, where it's like a guide to how to play it, and it's hard because you have to work out what's in there, and they all have to be different for each game, but it's the same basic information. It's like you join the server, the 5 steps of joining the server are different, but like we've worked out where that should be in the flow, and it speeds up.
Anyway, on to more like, well, we're talking about LAN events here. You've hosted LAN events each term for the finals?
So we're having LAN finals going forward, and that's something we want to keep doing. We've had 2. They're both in Nottingham. They probably won't be in Nottingham next year. They were actually in a Belong Arena. We want to start moving towards a university venue. But the LAN events we ran for our finals. Currently, the way they're going to run, and probably it's going to be the same next year. 2-day events, and we just kind of stagger the games throughout the day. So first thing in the morning, we had FIFA last time, then Rocket League, then CS:GO, then Dota. No, CS:GO, then Overwatch. And we had Hearthstone, Dota, and League on Sunday. It's something I can't remember, but it's kind of like that. And they're really cool. Bring everyone down. Get them all put up in a hotel the night before or night after, depending on what
kind of community thing as well for the people who maybe haven't met each other yet.
It's great, and we'd love to try and get. We actually had. We put a bus on from Warwick, a bus on from DMU because you guys are nearby. We'd love to do more stuff like that.
Yes, we did.
Get people down for the day, talk about stuff. But yeah, the LANs are really good fun.
Have they all run how you'd sort of expected so far, or is there things you'd improve on?
There's some things we could improve on, but like the second event first, I think travel was organised way quicker. I thought about a lot of things we didn't think out. Like big thing for us is our branding looks better at the second event. I know not everyone there will have appreciated that, but that for us was really good. It was a lot quicker. It was a lot quicker for us to organise. We were a lot more efficient doing things. We ran more side events as well. That's actually a big thing we want to do. Like the first event, we didn't have much going on. We had more people at the second event. We were promoting Grip, which is a new game. We were promoting that. We had 4 PC set doing that. We had like a Hearthstone tournament on the day. We had a Smash going on. We had stuff for people who were there to play in between games as well as watch the games. Because I'm saying, again, these are multiple game days. Like you might come along because you want to watch Rocket League, but after that, you're going back with your friends, but they want to watch League of Legends. You want something to do because you don't care.
Like, you might not be interested in everything.
We've got these gaming communities, but they don't necessarily have a huge crossover. So you want to make sure there's stuff to do for the people around. And that'll be a bigger focus next year, which is another part. Bringing someone on this next year when we do live events, should be able to have more, like, we're going to have kind of the same stage setup where you've got this viewing area, you've got all the players set up, you've got practice PCs, but we also, if people come down for the day, we want there to be stuff to do. Like King of the North, King of the North does a good job of this, but like the best King of the North, I think that I went to was a 2015 one where they did partnership with a bunch of other societies. It was kind of like an E-Festy style thing where they had the Mahjong society set up. They had Scan came down and had a Hearthstone area where you played it on all of these terrible tablets that barely ran the game, but they got these tablets down and you could come and sign up and you could play on these tablets. And there was all sorts. There was a dance, there was a rock band set up, there was Smash set up, there's a bunch of other stuff. So when like Dota came on, like people came down and it was just a great day of gaming, and the finals were there and it was cool and it was the focus, but it was a festival. They did some good events, but I think it was the 2015 one particularly.
So that's like something you'd aim to kind of maybe emulate in the future, sort of.
Yeah, we'd like to be able to do it with a bit more people as well running it. But it was, we'd love to do stuff like that. Like our finals, we only want to get bigger. We want to have more space, like almost a mini expo on the side. That's probably overselling it, but the next year
you've got to promote it.
But it will be an expo of 4 stands kind of thing, you know.
Well, hopefully, you can get lots of people down, so that'll be really good. Anyway, in terms of, I guess, the structure of the tournament as a whole, is that something, as you sort of said, you're happy with now, or would it change if there's a boom again, or I mean,
So all these structures are somewhat built to take large sizes, but we might Rocket League is the one that's most likely to change, but again, Rocket League is one that's quite hard to schedule because with a lot of the games, what we do to like separate out our playoffs and make them a bit longer is we do like best of ones in like the first stages, and then we go into like best of threes in the later stages. Whereas like it'll be ridiculous not to do best of 5 throughout for Rocket League because it doesn't take that long. We can't. CS:GO is like we do best of 3 winners bracket, or you play one best of 3 or you play 2 best of 1s in a night. Whereas in Rocket League, it's just entirely different. So the one that's most different for most of our tournaments, just to like talk about everything. We're really happy, really good retention rate. Like, as I'm saying, like freshers fairs, you normally get about 65% of the teams who played in winter return in spring. We had closer to 80%, so that was really good. We're really happy with the engagement levels we got. Like, I've been talking to people who are like, "Oh, we just missed out on playoffs in Division 2," and they really care about that, and that's the whole point
really
of it. It's like,
really happy.
It's like you finished 60th out of 100 people, but you were still excited about your week and where you could finish, which is like, and that's great. We've got these incentives that people are still really invested quite far down, but yeah, most of these formats, I say, bad series, but most of these formats do scale. They scale a bit more than what we've got. Like, I think it's 196 teams before we have to change our CSGO format.
Yeah.
We probably want to change it before then because it is optimized around 100 teams. If you go a bit higher than that, it becomes a bit, you have this problem of like, sure, anyone can qualify, but it becomes a lot harder. Like, it becomes a lot more based on original seeding because it becomes really tight when you've got 100 teams and the top 16 get through to Division 1. That's fine. When you've got 190 teams and the top 16 get through to Division 1, you worry that someone just got a bit of an unlucky seeding and we're not certain the right teams got through. So we'd probably change it before then, but there's plenty of room for growth. Rocket League is also, like, that one does actually scale because we can effectively just split into more regions, which is the thing I like about regional leagues. They're very scalable. There are issues with doing that, but like the limitation of regional leagues is it's more the teams at the bottom they end up being in different regions when they'd actually get more interesting games if they played in one region. The teams in kind of the middle, there's always going to be some skill in that region, so they're going to get matches, and it does make it a bit cooler. Like, it's a lot cooler qualifying for National League than Division 1. That's one of the things I do like. It's like, it is actually different. Like, whereas when you just arbitrarily
good teams.
Yeah, when you arbitrarily split Division 1, Division 2 it feels a bit more arbitrary, but having this like national is something I'm always obsessed with because like my uni career was spending 3 years. I spent 1 year playing a lot of esports, but I spent 3 years trying to get into National League for Ultimate Frisbee, and I never did. So like, for me, that was a defining experience. I'm like, we just need to finish 6th at regionals 1 year, and then we'll get in. That's all it was. That was the dream. We're not going to win anything. It's like, can we get to 6th this year? go. And then we get to finish last at nationals. As soon as they dropped me from the team, they did. But let's ignore that.
So overall, then, just as NSC as a whole, do you have any sort of idea what direction you're looking to go forward?
For us, just to exist. It was to have a website. It was to have tournaments. But year 2, we're looking to more. It's going to be starting to work with publishers more, work with partners more. But it's also when we start talking about doing things like this, where we start focusing on community content. We just want to start aggregating that. We want to start creating more of our own content around the tournaments. We want to do more of these community events. Scenaris has done a great job with it for Rocket League already. We don't necessarily have all these like extra tournaments for other games, which are never going to be as big as the main tournament, but we want to start expanding that. We want to start talking more about one of the big things for us is skills and employment with students and helping you guys develop. We've done spotlight articles last year, but there's a bunch of other stuff we've got planned around like supporting
to encourage people to
getting to
sort of
esports
go
and
into that industry, maybe if they want to.
There's two things to it. Like the one that people kind of see the visibility on is going in esports, but already that are actually teaching you skills. And even if you don't end up in esports, like being on committee at university, being a captain of a team, you learn skills that are applicable, and it's helping you use those skills, using your esports skills and other stuff. Like that's another thing that I speak about. Like not everyone's going to end up in like league operations or like, I don't know, being a professional player or like a streamer or all these other. But
yeah. So in terms of working in esports, is that something you really enjoy and just want to do for at least a while?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, on this kind of and helping students work out what they want to do as well. Guiding
them to where they want to go in the future, maybe.
I think people, certainly I did when I left university, you kind of have an idea of what you want to do, really know, and you don't know what to focus on. Like you look at a lot of stuff. At the end of the day, you might find a job you like, and it might not be in the area you expected. I mean, a lot of people who work in esports are like accountants for ESL. It's more about they like the office culture. They like working with people who have similar interests. And doing something you enjoy and being around people you like is almost being around people you like is almost the most important part.
That's a really good part of the job. If you can be around everyone who's kind of interested in some kind of esport, I guess.
And that is one thing that is great about working in esports. But you can find that with other stuff. But you can find that. And you can always do esports. Like having a job that's not in esports doesn't stop you being involved in esports.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I know a lot of people like that. Especially if you do event work, it's for them. A lot of them don't want to work in esports, but the most notable one is if you go to an Insomnia and you go to the tech desk. The people who volunteer on that tech desk, some of them are network managers for massive organizations. You're talking six-figure pay salaries, and they come down to this week once or twice a year. They come and hang out at esports events, do some basic tech support, wire some stuff up, but they love it, and it's not ever going to be their full-time job, but it's a nice fun thing to do with friends. It's not stressful, where if you work full-time in it, it can become more stressful. Not what I found, but people do. It's the balance that works for you. Employment's scary. Forewarned. Be forewarned.
It is a little bit. I've got another year, but then I've got to start thinking about it. So it's a little bit worrying at that point. In terms of working in esports, does that mean you have less time to play? Well, obviously you have less time to play esports, but does it mean you enjoy them less because you're
I enjoy them differently. Realistically, when I was at university, I kind of got to a point for me where I was do I want to take this very seriously or do I want to pass my I was actually kind of reached
the debate. Do I just play games?
Realistically, I was never good enough to play in a professional. I feel when it comes to esports, when I played 40 hours a week, I sat just outside the pro scene. I could do okay in the UK league if I got involved with that, but I was never. That was me at my absolute peak. I was going to be a tier 3 British player. It's not a huge achievement.
Enough to go on with.
But I've lost my. But I can't enjoy it like that anymore. But I don't have 40, 50 hours a week to play. But I still watch esports. I go through phases about when I'm free. I still enjoy esports, but I enjoy it very differently. I play a lot more. I play a lot of games. I've got really into playing Hearthstone because I can play it, I pick it up, put it down easily when I'm free, as opposed to other games that are more intense. And that's what I've kind of found. Moving to do it actually full time, I do. Thing I have found is I find it much harder to events. Things like Insomnias, I always used to love them, and I miss the people who are there, but it's much harder for me to justify giving
to just take
5 of my 20 days off or whatever it is. Well, they're normally taking time off to do an esports event, especially as
you've got to spend time with.
I would always work an event as opposed to all my friends in esports are people who work in it more than they are who play it now. So that's kind of,
I guess you encounter.
It's one of those things, like I'd want to go to see the people, but I don't have the urge to necessarily do it because I do it all the time. It's not that I'm bored of it and I find it less enjoyable. It's just, I used to do it 40 hours a week. I still do it 40 hours a week. It's just mostly from this end. And,
yeah, a different perspective, I guess.
I still have binge weekends, and it's like I say I don't do it as. I mean, I used to play. I've got one of the highest play times of anyone on the European server for League of Legends. I just play something like 4,500 ranked games a season, which, you know, an hour-long game is averaging.
All the games,
I average like 8 to 10 hours a day. I now average 8 to 10 hours a week of playing League of Legends. It's not like I've stopped. It's just I feel
There's
like
no
it's
way
nothing.
you could maintain that nowadays either.
It's not. I still play an unhealthy amount, but it's not the unhealthy amount I used to play. But yeah. But no, I love it. I'm not on a team. I don't treat it as competitively as I used to, but I do enjoy games. So that's not going to ever change.
Yeah, I guess
definitely.
Life.
So if someone's listening and they think they could have a future working in esports, sort of how do you think they should go about getting involved?
It depends what you want to do, but honestly, it's a case of like for you see out there. But you have to be proactive, and like it depends what you're doing. Like one of the things they say to casters, and people don't really believe it, is you just need to go and do it and be bad. And like I've seen so many people, particularly like casting's one I just could talk about because it's the one that I've seen people have the most success in, and it often is. There is talent involved, but it's about finding a way of getting better. It's about finding a way of reviewing yourself and just doing it a lot.
Yeah,
you can't just do one cast and be like, I'm the best at this.
No,
there's so many ways you can improve.
And it also is one of these things that like, snowballs. So like right now, if you go to somewhere like Insomnia, it's all freelance. It's all people who aren't already in the pro scene because they're not paying $5,000 a day or something ridiculous, whatever. Like it would charge to get whatever like a professional caster would charge for like a major or something. They're never going to charge that. So it's always going to be the people who they go, okay, I've got 3 people apply for this role. One of them's got 20 hours of experience. One of them has none. They go with you don't need that much experience applying to that role and then you have the people do Insomnia, and now you've got Insomnia on your thing. So when you apply for it, go with the person who did Insomnia because they're a safer bet. And you very quickly, it's a small ecosystem, you end up getting a lot of experience.
Yeah.
And then those at some point, someone from the UK pool gets pulled into the international pool, and there's another slot opens up. And it's once you get into that UK pool, like it's not. I mean, 25% of them end up doing it full time, but that's a ridiculous number. Like it's a much bigger number than you think if you can get to that stage and you keep working at it. And you keep improving.
You've got a good chance of turning it into something.
Speaking English as your first language is a huge advantage. Huge advantage. But it's just find any experience you can get and do it. Being on committees is great, but as I try and stress, don't limit yourself to esport. Like being proactive and just doing things that gives you soft skills is what you want to do.
Yeah, anything you could transfer to kind of any job would be great.
Yeah.
For anything, really.
It's team building, event planning, like universal skills. Like one of the other things Benchmark runs is corporate running events, and we went to one, and I was like, oh, I get this. This is just exactly what we do. It's turning running by yourself into feeling like an event where everyone's involved. Whereas like the same with gaming, anyone could go play solo queue, but this now feels like and it feels bigger and better. And like, I mean, sports is obviously close to esports, but it's all the same. A lot of these things.
Yeah. So I guess that's really everything we wanted to talk about. Unless you've got anything you want to add, that's fine. But
no, I don't think I do.
So I guess that is it. So I hope everyone who's watching found it interesting. Thank you for watching if you got this far. And I guess we'll hopefully see you next time. So thank you, Hench.
Thank you very much for coming on.